My name is Brelee Anderson. I'm 36 years old. I have two adorable boys who are 11 and 8. I'm originally from Texas, been in the Coast Guard for 17 years, and now I am living in Detroit, Michigan.
What led you to the Coast Guard route?
I wanted to join the military, but I wasn't sure which branch I wanted to do. So when I was looking into the different branches, the Coast Guard stood out to me because they're Department of Homeland Security and all the other branches are Department of Defense. So I wanted to join something that was more serving and helping people. So that's the route I chose.
And was that something that you kind of thought during your childhood, hey, I'm interested in this kind of route, or how did that come about?
Oh no, not even remotely. I wanted to be a singer and I can't sing. So I didn't know what I wanted to do. I'm super free spirited. So the military is kind of shocking to me that I joined, but it turns out I love it. I love the stability of it and I like the structure, and yeah.
How did that, you said you're kind of like a free spirit kind of person. How did that initially, obviously everybody has this kind of idea of what happens when you first get in the military. How did that kind of hit you?
Oh my gosh, it was a rude awakening. When I went to boot camp and I had somebody screaming in my face, my immediate thought was, oh my gosh, I made the biggest mistake of my life. I can't do this. But as it turns out, it made me so much stronger. And it turns out there's a lot that you learn in boot camp, 8 weeks of just not having free rights and being yelled at and physically tested and mentally tested. And it after I finished, I was never been more proud in my entire life of myself. And I realized then that anything is possible and I can do anything that I put my mind to.
Yeah, I think that's a really cool thing, the mental aspect that comes along with that. And I was actually talking to a guy who was a drill instructor for the Marines, and he just was saying people, they think we're just like this naturally mean kind of person and all this other stuff, but really we're just trying to like almost break these people down into their kind of the root elements, and then we try to build them back up into Marine or whatever it is that person's going into. And it's really cool to hear it from that side of things too, because you oftentimes, like, if you haven't experienced it, you just get to see the movies, and it's like, oh, the drill instructors are just out here to get you, and they're always mean and this and that, but that really it's just kind of a re-character building process in a way.
Absolutely. They have to transfer you from a civilian to a military member. And you go through this transformation, and everything they do, it has a purpose to it. They aren't doing it just to be assholes. There's a purpose to it. And so, yeah, I love that.
So initially, was the physical side of that, was that something that you went into thinking maybe, this might be tough for me, or were you kind of physical before going in? How did the physical side play out?
So yes, I was super athletic before then. So I was a cheerleader in high school, played volleyball, basketball, ran track. I went to college on a cheerleading scholarship. So I've always been active. I've always kind of been pushed and known my physical boundaries. So that wasn't actually the hardest part. And so for that drill instructor in the Marines, if he's listening, they say the Coast Guard is the hardest boot camp intellectually. So Marines are the toughest physically, but Coast Guard is the toughest intellectually, because you were in class so much, learning so many things. So for me, it was the staying awake that was the hardest part. So it wasn't the physical fitness. I was good there. It was staying awake and learning. That was the worst.
Oh yeah. I think everybody's definitely experienced that at some point in their educational career. It's like, especially I can imagine, going through that military experience where you're probably, that's actually part of it is, hey, let's see what these people can handle, with a little bit less sleep and a little bit under, more pressure than normal.
Absolutely. It's just imagine, when you go into class in college, you're hungover and you're trying so hard to pay attention. It's like that.
Yeah. And so how did that initial period transfer over to you from from a perspective of like, you go in and you're kind of, like you said, you're just basically a civilian when you get in, and then you go through this process, and now you have this new kind of almost in like a personal identity in a way. How did that kind of affect you moving forward? Like because I think we all kind of go through transitions in life and we see ourselves differently, but it takes a while for others to kind of understand that we are different, and we have to kind of work around that a little bit. And I think becoming, going through that process that you went through, that's kind of something, pretty big, but, how did other people respond to the kind of the person you became from that?
My family was completely shocked. My mother didn't recognize me. She couldn't believe the transformation that I had made. And the one thing I told her, I said, I am responsible now for people's lives. They are in my hands now. My level of responsibility went from basically just myself to people out in the boating community that need things, or my shipmates that might need me when we're under search and rescue. So this level of responsibility just made me a different person. I think the biggest realization I had was, it's not just about me. The world isn't just about me anymore. It's about so many other people. And so my family, they were just amazed at the person I had become. So it was interesting. Only 8 weeks too.
Yeah.
It was just amazing.
It is. It's crazy what we can kind of achieve in these periods of time. And it kind of goes back to like setting goals. And, you know, it's good to set realistic goals in a way, but also setting goals that are pushing to do something hard, because that's, I think, when we go more like all into the process. And, you know, I'm definitely a person that does go more all in, sometimes to my own detriment, but I think that's part of why a lot of people don't succeed, is because they're kind of like saying, okay, I'll try this out for a while. I'll try going to the gym, or I'll try eating healthy, instead of, it's kind of that, you know, that Star Wars quote, do or do not, you know, just commit to doing it. And I think you may be a little bit more kind of overwhelmed a little bit at the beginning, but I think that pushes you to actually do the work in a way.
Absolutely. I would agree with that completely. Once you set your mind to something and you want to do it, then it has to become a lifestyle. The gym has to become the way that's just part of who you are. Eating healthy, that's just a part of who you are. Diets don't work. We all know that. What do you have, a 3-month, I think, thing? They've done studies where it's like 3 months people can stay on a diet, or 3 months people can go to the gym. But if it's not a part of your life and something you make a priority, then it's never going to stick.
Yeah. So going back, you said you were very athletic growing up. Was the athletic side, did it have any kind of strength conditioning or any kind of like weight room that went along with that activity?
It did. In high school, we actually did bench press and things like that. And I remember being so excited when I was a sophomore and I could bench 100 pounds. That was such a big deal. And so looking back, I laugh about that now. But that was really we did a lot of arms, not necessarily legs, during volleyball season. And that's where the weight room all started for me, was there. But I didn't continue on with the weight room.
Gotcha.
So that was it. I quit for a while after that.
So it didn't really become a passion. It was more of just doing it because that's what, you know, you're told to do, kind of thing.
Yes, absolutely.
Gotcha. And when did you get back into it? Like what caused you to do that?
Well, so funny story. If the people listening could see my structure, they would know I'm not a runner. I am short. I have short, stocky legs. I'm never going to be a size 2 or size 4, no matter how much I diet, no matter how much I exercise. I'm just thicker. And so I was a marathon runner, actually, from the time I was 19 till the time I was 26. And I would win 5Ks all over the military, and I would do all these great things. But I eventually got Piriformis Syndrome, and it is like debilitating. You cannot walk. It is so painful. So that's whenever I realized, hey, maybe running isn't for me. And so then I got back into the weight room, because I couldn't just be idle, because I have so much going on in my brain. Exercise for me is more of a mental thing. So I didn't get back into the weight room until I was like 27.
Okay.
And now I'm 36. So yeah.
So yeah, and I think it's cool to take that avenue away and think about it from perspective of, like, a lot of people don't get into different things. It's like they have this goal of going to the gym and getting fit. And even though they might succeed at that, they never kind of expand and see what else they might like, or, you know, what they're good at. And actually, I wouldn't consider myself a marathon runner. I ran 1 marathon. It's definitely something I'm glad I checked off my bucket list, but it was definitely an experience to where I could say, like, these kind of people who run a lot of marathons, I feel like they're just a little bit different than your average person. And, you know, they definitely have more of a drive, more of like a discipline, because, you know, even from the perspective of like getting up, for me, it seems like a lot easier to get up and go to the gym, because it's like, that's 30 minutes to an hour, you know, maybe, where I'm committing time. And, you know, when I started training my marathon, it was like, okay, this is at least an hour, if not several hours. And it's so much, to me, crazier to do that kind of thing than it is to go lift weights. And I guess maybe it's just my perspective on it too, but are
I
you kind
agree
of
with you. I agree, because for an hour and a half, 2 hours, you're doing the same dang thing. You're just running, and it becomes so exhausting. And for somebody, and you might agree with me on this, somebody like us, we need more stimulation. We need something else going on or something else to do. And the weight room provides that. There's always another exercise to do. You're not doing the same repetitive thing for an hour.
right? No, yeah,
Mhm.
it's and are you kind of the person that enjoys in a way, not like, it sounds a little bit weird, but like enjoys that overcoming that workout of like, I don't want to do this, and then you do it. Like, does that overcome, the boredom of during it? Because I feel like at least that was my case. It was like I hate it while I'm doing it, but it feels really good when I'm done doing it.
Absolutely. I have days where I go to the gym where I feel good from the start, but a lot of days I don't want to go. And I'm just like, I just got to drive to the gym. I got to get there and I got to just walk in the doors and then I'm okay. Or through the workout, I'm having a really crappy workout and I'm just miserable. But I've always told my friends who ask me, advice and things like that, I will tell them, you will never regret doing a workout, no matter how shitty it is, but you will always regret not doing it.
Yeah. And I
Yeah.
feel like I've never felt worse. I've sometimes I've gone into a workout maybe feeling neutral, and then I feel kind of worse and worse as it goes, but I feel like it's never been because of the workout itself. It's always been kind of my mood going into it.
Mhm.
And, for whatever reason, um but it's just, to me, it's so weird how like the mental, you kind of said you do it for the mental benefits. And in a world where we have so many different kind of mental health awareness things going on, and
Mhm.
kind of the mental health issues we have, to me, I'm always wondering, is it because we don't have this physical culture that we used to, where people would always be outside and playing, sports with their
Mhm.
friends and just running around being active, even just being out in the sun. Like,
Mhm.
it makes me think, is it because, all these mental issues is because we don't use our bodies anymore?
I completely agree with you. I have anxiety. So I've been diagnosed. It's been something that actually happened after I had my children. I wasn't too anxious before, but once I had kids, like I don't know if just the juggling like work and children and working out and things, I had anxiety really bad. And so the only thing that can help my anxiety is exercise. I don't want to be on medication. I don't, want to do any of that, but exercise always seems to help it. So I would say you're onto something there, because you're right. People aren't outside the way they used to be. They aren't going for, evening walks anymore with their families.
So once you got in, back into the weight room, you said you kind of had that period with running, and
Mhm.
probably even it happened a little bit with running maybe, but once you got back into the weight room, did you struggle with anything? A lot of people struggle with the consistency of it. A lot of people struggle with like finding time, but did you have anything that you felt like you were just struggling with at the beginning that you've kind of overcome now?
I would say I did struggle in the beginning. I remember one of the first times I went to the weight room, there were two guys working out next to me. And one guy had said to the other, God, I wish the girls would just get out of the weights and go back to the treadmills where they belong. And I remember being so shocked. And he's lucky that I'm in a male dominated field. So I'm kind of used to, the shit talking back and forth. But I was like, how dare you? Like, so I think I struggled with maybe not knowing that I was doing the exercises correctly. Maybe I was doing, things differently. I wasn't squatting low enough, or I wasn't, doing shoulders with the right posture, or things like that. So I think I struggled a lot with worrying that people were watching me
Yeah.
and saying, oh no, she's doing it wrong. And I
Yeah.
did have a lot of people come up, mainly men, trying to correct my form and things like that, which I appreciate. I really do, because sometimes it was wrong. So that is something that I would say that was my biggest struggle.
Yeah. That's a tough one too. Like, you don't want to be that person that's annoying about it, and you don't want
Mhm.
to seem like you're, creeping on people watching them work out. But and it's tough. You don't know what to do, especially when it is from like male to female or female to male.
Mhm.
It's tough to make that call on, do I help this person out? Do I look weird doing it? I think it just is, I think there's a lot of like how you do it
Oh,
too, is a big part of it.
it really is. It is a very hard thing. The other day, I was at the gym and I saw this, teenager, and he was just deadlifting. And I mean, his back was a C. And I'm like, oh gosh, do I say something? Do I not? What do I do? Well, my boyfriend went over there and was like, hey, hey, I just want to show you this. And I think him approaching him was a lot better than say me approaching him and saying, hey, you're doing it wrong. But I feel like it's a hard call. Like when do you help people? When do you not? When do you mind your own business?
Right. No, yeah. Especially a teenager,
Mhm.
a teenage boy, they have all the ego. So especially
Right.
when a woman comes up, it's like, oh, this is embarrassing kind of, but
Right. I felt like I need to bring my voice down. Hello. You might need to.
no, for real. That's the
Uh,
struggles of the gym though. There's so much that goes into it from the mental
mhm,
aspect. It's like you don't want to make this person feel weird and not, not come back
mhm.
and never, not feel
Right.
good when they come in. It's just it's such a vulnerable place. It's so weird that it is
Mhm.
that way, but it's definitely a balancing act.
It is. And I think, one thing, we've all been the new person. We've all been the beginner. We've all been the one, not necessarily knowing what to do. So yeah, we can definitely empathize with them.
Oh yeah. I remember, going in, it was pretty much, I mean, I'm probably consider myself kind of a late bloomer when it comes to getting into the gym. But it was pretty much the first time I was going to the gym was a freshman year in college, and it was just such a weird environment to me. I was by myself at the very beginning, but going in and a few guys did actually come up and show me a few things, teach me a few things. And it was pretty cool, but if it went down the right way, I could definitely see where I'd have been like, you know what, screw this. These people
Yeah.
are, not the type of people I want to be around. But kind of going now into how you train and stuff like that. Are you the person who enjoys more of the heavyweights, or are you a person who enjoys more of the, the volume and the 10, 12, 15 reps kind of thing? Or do you kind of mix it up?
I am heavyweights. I used to be the person that would do 5 sets of 25, and I wish I could go punch her in the face because I'm like, you are wasting your time. So I started out conventional weightlifting, and I loved it, but I was doing high volume, high sets, and it would take me forever in the gym. And I wasn't necessarily seeing the growth that I wanted to see. So when I transitioned over to the heavyweights to powerlifting, I saw a massive, massive increase in like my toneness of my body, my glutes, if you will, like just popped. And when girls that are trying to get that peach that you see on Instagram and all these great, assets, if you squat heavy and do low reps, 5 by 5s, and if you deadlift heavy and do low reps, you are going to get exactly what you're looking for. Don't waste your time with the high reps. And that is my best bit of advice I can give.
Going back to what you're saying though about like lifting heavy weights and making that kind of a priority over the volume, or over even, a lot of people not even getting into the weights yet, just focusing strictly on cardio and trying to hit their goals with just the cardio side of things. And I think there is a lot of misconceptions when it comes to how can I get fit this year, how can I lose weight this year. I think that's one of the biggest ones, is like, just, you have to either be on the treadmill or whatever, or you have to be doing, something that keeps you active the whole time. And doing a 5 by 5, there's going to be a lot of rest time in that. And it's very confusing for people to realize that that's actually necessary, and you will
Mhm.
achieve your potentially will achieve your goal, even if you are taking a rest for, 2 or 3 minutes.
It is. That is so true. I have a friend, and he would eat an enormous amount of calories, and he would lift all the time, and no matter what, he could not put on weight. And it was just heartbreaking to him. And I just, I told him, I said, like, I will never be a size 2. You're not ever going to be a bodybuilder. So we just kind of got to go with what we were given and just try to be our best. And I think that's been the hardest thing for me, as I look at another person's body type and I'm like, well, I want to look like that. Well, genetically that may never happen. So I just got to work with what my mama gave me.
No, yeah, that's a hard thing to overcome too, especially if you're
Mhm.
serious about, like, you have a goal or a dream of looking a certain way, from an
Mhm.
earlier age. It's like, well, now what do I do, kind of thing. And then, nobody wants to give up, because especially, people who go to the gym, I feel like they're so goal oriented and driven that it's hard for
Mhm.
them to specifically to give up on a certain plan or certain vision they have. But yeah, that's so tough to be like, okay, maybe I'm not the next, Arnold Schwarzenegger. Maybe I'm supposed to be, maybe I'm
Yeah.
supposed to be the next crazy marathon runner, the next,
Yeah.
David Goggins or whatever. Like, It's
Right. And that is so, because to my mother, she always calls me Arnold Schwarzenegger. I look absolutely nothing like him, but to her, she's, in her 70s. She's like, "Oh, Arnold." That's my nickname. And I'm like, "Mom, I don't look anything like him, but okay."
most people on the outside looking in think, I wish I like that, or I wish, I was that kind of person, or they're just a gym goer. They're just whatever the word is. Whereas in reality, it's just like, we could all be doing this together. Like nothing's
Exactly.
stopping anybody from like just doing this, and it might not
Mhm.
be your thing, but I think everybody does have, something to give to themselves in the gym.
Absolutely. And that's one thing I love about powerlifting. So if you walk into a powerlifting gym, there's an amazing one here in the Detroit area called Rochester Performance Gym. My first powerlifting gym I've ever been to. I'm a self-taught powerlifter for a year. And then I walked into this gym, and it's guys deadlifting 1,000 pounds. They're squatting 800 pounds. And then you'll have these small girls and they're lifting these shorter, tiny guys. It is every shape and size in this gym. And everybody is so supportive. And it's just such a great sport. There's strongmen that are in there too, doing their thing, which I haven't really messed too much with because it scares me, apparently. Maybe I'll get into it one day because I like to try new things. But it is every shape and size powerlifters, and everybody's so welcoming in our community. And I would say it is so male driven too. There's very few females that power lift. And so it's really motivating to get into this sport. And it's really encouraging to me because I want girls to pick up the barbell and not be scared of it, and to be able to try something new and try lifting heavy. And just see if you like it. It might not be your thing, but just try it out and see, because it's so empowering when you can, you start off deadlifting 150 pounds, and then all of a sudden in 6 months you're at 315. And that's how powerlifting worked for me in my case. I made drastic jumps.
That's
So,
cool. I think
mhm.
finding, like we were saying earlier, finding that you really respond to best, your body does. And then, whenever your body responds to something, obviously you're probably going to be like
Mhm.
excited to do it more. So, you know, I
Mhm.
think my best advice to somebody who doesn't really find the gym fun is just, okay, you don't have to go to the gym to work out. You can do almost an infinite number of things.
I feel like I've tried so much. I've been a runner. I tried CrossFit for a while. I feel I've done conventional weightlifting, powerlifting, yoga. I was into yoga heavily for a while. So, and I still do yoga from time to time, but I feel like as an athlete, we kind of get bored doing the same thing over and over again. So it's important to kind of try new things and mix things up. And that's just for people that maybe don't go to the weight room and, try weights. We'll try something else. I had a friend actually message me today saying, "Hey, you're a lot of motivation and my workout is my bed." And I thought for a second, wait, what? And she said, "No, I get bands and I do bands in my bed before I go to sleep." So I'm like, "Oh, okay, cool." I mean, maybe you're onto something. Like, there's just so many different things that you can do.
Definitely. And like finding a reason to work out too, I think is important. Like, you'll hear a lot of hunters who go on these crazy hunts. They'll work out for that specific reason. So it gives them a reason to be like, okay, I might not love working out, but I'm going to like benefit from this workout. So, I think it's easy,
Mhm.
or maybe easier if you have like a physical job, if you're a first responder or in the military or whatever, something like that, or maybe, even something like construction to where you could benefit. But like, figure out what results are going to like benefit. Maybe you're getting a little bit older and you don't want to, be bound to the couch all the time, and you want to
Mhm.
play with your grandkids. Like, I think just figuring out a purpose for why you're putting in all the hard work and why you're getting up early or staying up late to do certain things is a massive advantage.
Absolutely. I think, yeah, you're right. Finding that motivation. And sometimes I think what people need to realize too is just because like people like you and I that have been in the fitness industry for a little while and enjoy it, it doesn't mean we don't go through our bad times. I went through a big slump after my competition. I did a powerlifting competition in January, and I went in a massive slump from February to about October timeframe, where I just didn't want to work out. I had no motivation. I was getting out of shape, and I couldn't figure out what was going on with me. But I've been an athlete all my life. So I realized, hey, maybe I need to just listen to my body, give myself some time off, still go on my nightly walks, but that you will go through times that maybe you don't want to work out, but you have to eventually come back out of.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people myself included, when, when the pandemic first started, they couldn't go to the gym. I feel like that really halted some people. And, I didn't probably work out really for a few months, and I was doing some small
Mhm.
things here and there, but it was so sporadic. I pretty much wouldn't consider it anything, but it was hard getting back into it because you do lose some of that muscle and you do lose some of that strength,
Mhm.
and it's like, wow, I can't believe I put in all these years into this to get to a certain point, and then it's almost like a restart. I think for me though, I kind of saw it as, instead of dwelling on just that, I was like, okay, well, now let's see where I can, how fast I can get it back. Let's see where I can, get even, how fast I can almost beat where I was before. You mentioned you did CrossFit, and that's something that I've never actually done, but I know a few people who do it. I know it's, pretty intense. And with your background as a runner, was the CrossFit something that came kind of more natural to you at the beginning compared to maybe some people who were like starting with you, or you know how did the CrossFit go? Because I know there's a lot of people who are all in on it, and some people are like, this is the worst thing for people to do.
So all the CrossFitters out there, don't hate me. I did not like it. I mean, I did for the time being, and then I hurt my back because it was my fault. It's not the sport's fault by any stretch of the imagination. I'm a prideful person. And so I was lifting way too much weight. I was snatching way too much weight, horrible form, just to get it up in the air. And it's not for me because I am too prideful in that. So I don't want to be, just lifting the bar. So I started off pretty horribly, and I did it for about 6 months until I decided that I needed to stop and listen to my body because my back was in excruciating pain. So it's
Gotcha.
my fault, not the sport. I actually sumo deadlift. So I have a girlfriend and she has really long legs and she cannot sumo for the life of her. She has to do conventional. And so for her, she's envious of my sumo. I'm envious of her conventional because the way we're shaped, we're not meant to deadlift the same. And that is a big thing too, is you're completely right. Nobody's squat is going to look the same. Mine looks completely different. I have a super long torso with short legs. Somebody that has long legs and a short torso, our squat's going to look completely different. And maybe you should high bar squat. Maybe you should low bar squat. You got to figure out what works best for your body type. And one thing I will say too, with deadlifting, it actually healed my back because I built the muscles around my back with proper form, of course. And actually, I have no back issues anymore. And I've had them all my life. So that's the good news. So deadlifting will not hurt your back if you have the proper form. That's definitely something I want to stress.
Yeah, that's definitely a big misnomer about deadlifting. You mentioned, deadlifting and things like that, and you mentioned squatting earlier, but if you had to choose one that you had to, you couldn't do the other one, which one would you prefer to do?
Okay, this is a super hard question for me because I look forward to squat day and I hate deadlift day. The only reason I hate deadlift day is because after I do deads, I'm dead, literally. So if I had to choose, I would have to choose deadlifts, as much as that pains me to say because I hate it, but it's full body. Deadlifts are full body. Squats, yes, you do your legs, glutes, core, but with deadlifts, it's your entire body. So I'm going to have to go with the dreadful deads.
No, yeah, I feel the same way. What kind of lessons have you learned about yourself since you kind of got into powerlifting?
Oh my goodness. I think that I've learned that I can't be too hard on myself. That's one of the biggest things I learned when I first went into the powerlifting gym and I saw these people like lift. I thought I was a pretty big badass walking in, I'm like, hey, I'm older. I can lift a decent amount. And then I walk in and see these people and I'm like, they are like warming up with my max. Like, oh my God. So it's good to be humbled. It's always good to be humbled. So I appreciate that very much. And um, I think that's the biggest thing I learned. It definitely helped with to humble me a little bit. Not that I, can lift these crazy amounts that a lot of, power lifters do, but it definitely put things in perspective and set goals for myself.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, just realizing that no matter how good you are at something, or like how bad you are at something, sometimes it's like there's always somebody that's going to be better than you, or there's always
Mhm,
somebody starting from a worse position than you. So kind of
mhm,
taking both of those into account, and having perspective on things. I think a lot of this stuff that we talk about transfers over to life just so well. Um, just bringing it, kind of the same with sports too, but like bringing it, learning those lessons in the gym and then bringing it to, your personal life or your business life. Like there's so much good that comes, I think, from going to the gym and pushing yourself in that environment.
Absolutely. And one thing I'm bench press is probably my worst lift. That's most women's worst lift, unless you're Jim Thompson, which she's an amazing bench presser. But for women, mostly it's bench press. And one day I was benching in the gym, and a woman had come to me and she said, "You are my goals. Like that is my goal weight." And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, that's amazing!" Like it's such a good feeling, because that's my whole reason for my Instagram account is I want to motivate women to not be afraid of the barbell and to get in there and lift heavy. Because I wish, somebody had told me, "Hey, maybe you should try this sport instead of marathon running with your short little legs. Like maybe you're designed for something different." So that's definitely a big motivator for me. And yeah, I would say I definitely brought it into my professional life, my life as a mother as well. It's definitely, yeah, energy transfer for sure.
Yeah. And you kind of mentioned like the marathon stuff right there. Do you feel like your marathon running, the mindset of that transferred over to the powerlifting? Because I think it's weird, as opposite kind of as they are when it comes to how your body responds. It takes a similar mindset of like achieving a monster goal sometimes.
Yeah, definitely helped. That background of being a runner definitely helped. I ran the Marine Corps Marathon when I was pregnant with my second son. And I remember after I was done, I was like, "Man, that's pretty badass." Like to have that mindset. Of course, I wanted to die during the last 4 miles, but when you've been to that place mentally, when you're lifting, you know how to handle it and you know how much more you can push yourself. So it's a mental thing. It really is.
Yeah. I think it's
Mhm.
it's so cool to conquer that. And I don't think we ever fully do. I don't think, maybe a handful of people do, but just the
Yeah.
the mindset overcoming the mental blocks in our head thinking that we can't
Mhm.
do something. I think even, I think everybody has that to some kind of level, whether it be in the gym or a personal relationship or I want to start this business, but I'm afraid for these reasons. But I think it'd be so cool to know what the true potential of what we're capable of if we didn't have any of those mental blocks that go along with just simply being a human.
I know. And one person I think that might have it figured out is Chris Gethin. He's insane. He runs, those 50-mile marathons or whatever, the ultra marathons,
Oh
and he
yeah.
lifts weights, and he has something in there that he unblocked, and I don't know how he did it. But he might have it figured out. Or like you said, David Goggins earlier, he might have it figured out.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
And,
not.
but no, and it's weird
Mhm,
because like those types of people didn't go through like an easy life.
no.
They went through something that a lot of times people use as a reason to not do something instead of a reason to
Mhm,
be like, you know what, forget all that negativity, forget all that past history. I'm actually going to do the complete opposite. And to me, in a world where we try to like sugarcoat everything and make everything easier and softer, are we actually doing the kids, the youth of today a favor in the long run? I just don't know if we are.
I don't know if we are either. I think our worst times have made us probably the best person. But isn't it weird how some people can have the same exact life, but one person will take it and run with it and make it a positive thing, and another person it just destroys them.
Yeah.
And I wonder what the difference is there.
No, yeah, it's insane because I think it goes
Mhm,
back to kind of those mental barriers once again. Like somebody sees something as an obstacle
mhm,
that is just like life ending basically, and another person sees it as kind of this thing that is defining in a good way. But you know, I
mhm.
I don't know. I don't know if there's a I don't know. There's a lot of chemistry in the brain that goes along with that. There's a lot of things that do go along with that, but I don't know if we can ever be, have 100% success rate when it comes to um just having, I guess, almost being blessed with a, a positive outlook or the potential to have a positive outlook. And I mean, that's kind of sad to say in a way because it's almost like saying some people are just destined to not be happy, but I don't know if that's true or not, but it kind of seems like that might be the case in a lot of ways.
I know. And I think if we knew the answer, we would help tons of people.
Right.
Everybody would succeed. And I guess that's just not possible. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
It's crazy though. It's crazy to think that. And
Mhm.
as a person that, and I'm not saying I'm like the most positive ever, or I'm the king of overcoming obstacles, but as a person that sees the possibility in things, like it definitely makes you want to tell somebody like, hey, just keep going, or hey, just hit the gym and you'll get better at it and you'll like it, or eat
Mhm.
healthier foods and you'll lose weight and you'll start to not want unhealthy foods. Like, as a personal trainer, as a person who encourages people to get healthy, it's hard to see people hear what you're saying but not act on it, or not fully act on it. Kind of like we were going back before, they try to do it, but the try is accompanied with a lot of reasons why they can't.
Exactly. And that is super frustrating because I do have people that have reached out to me multiple times for fitness or nutrition advice. And I give them the same advice every time, but they never use it. They never, stick with the plan. And to me, I just want to go up and shake them and be like, what's wrong with you? Because when I was in college, I had gained like 40 pounds. When I was pregnant, I was 200 pounds both times when I went into labor. So, and I have gained weight, lost weight, and it's just a lifestyle. And I don't know what gets it to click with some people and not with others. I
Mhm.
honestly, I don't know. I don't have the answers.
Yeah.
Wish I did.
Yeah, and there's so many like different approaches you can take with somebody, like the positive approach of like, hey, if you do this, you'll look like this or you'll feel like this, or the negative approach of like, hey, if you don't do this, you're going to have a heart attack and die or whatever. But like you said, sometimes none of that works, and it's just like,
Mm-mm.
what will work with you? You want to figure it out. You want to have that click, and in some ways I don't even know, like, if people could go back in their own lives a lot of times and know what really made it click for them. I think
Yeah,
it's just this mystery thing. Some people are just going to do certain things and some people aren't.
I know that is very true. And I had once heard someone say it's a lot harder to be overweight and out of shape than it is to eat healthy and exercise. And that is 100% true. It is
Mhm.
a lot harder to look in the mirror and not like what you see and not love yourself than it is just to get in the gym and exercise and eat decent. I'm not saying you got to eat great all the time. Like I'm a power lifter. We eat like I eat 2,500 calories a day. Like I eat, but and I don't deprive myself. And so it's just a lifestyle for me that I have learned to maintain through my adulthood. And I don't understand it. And I wish I could give everybody, the mindset I have or the mindset you have, or, and it's just not possible. And it breaks my heart.
Yeah, there's an answer. I don't think obviously we found the right way to go about it, but one day at a
And
time, I think.
one day at a time. And I do think social media it has a positive slash negative impact on it. Because on social media, you can see like how to do certain exercise, or these, Instagram models or whatever will post their workouts. And that's how I actually started in the weight room. I would go and get these girls' workouts from Instagram and I would start doing them. And so I think it is positive, and then negative on the side of, hey, you may never look like this chick because you're not designed to.
Yeah.
It's just, it's a win lose situation.
Yeah.
I think for me, my 8-year-old had on his iPad the other day, it's 30 days to a six pack. And I'm like, what are you doing? And he goes, Mom, I'm doing these exercises every night before bed. So I have a six pack. I'm like, you were 8 years old. Like, oh my gosh, what is going on? So and I think on it, I don't know if that's good or bad at this time. So stay tuned. But I guess we'll see. I mean, he sees me working out all the time. His brother works out. His brother actually power lifts too. And so he's only 11, but I got him in the gym early just with proper technique in, low weights. But I don't know if it's good or bad for them already wanting a six pack. So,
It just goes back to kind of what we were saying about like doing it for what reason, and I
mhm,
think I think for a kid, maybe that's an okay like introduction, but hopefully that
right.
doesn't stay somebody's reason.
Mm,
Hopefully they don't,
gosh,
when they're 20, 30 years old, hopefully they're still not just out there to have a certain body type. Hopefully it's
right.
it's something deeper than that. But
Yeah.
I
They'll
think it's
understand the mental aspect of it, I think, later on, the
yeah,
mental health part of it. So,
definitely. But what advice would you have for somebody out there who wants to get healthy in 2022 and really wants to actually do it and not just try to do it?
I think you need to come up with a solid plan. Don't just say, hey, I want to lose 30 pounds, or hey, I want to start going to the gym. You need to actually write it out. What exactly do you want? And what is your timeline that you're looking to, and be realistic too, your timeline on what you want to do, what changes can you control? What can you not control? Because a lot of people make unrealistic goals that are just not going to happen. You're not going to get a six pack in 30 days. It's not going to happen no matter what you do. So you need to set realistic goals, and there's no magic pill. Don't buy the pills. You're just wasting your money. There's no magic pill to fix it. Just come up with a plan and decide that this time next year, you want to be a different person mentally, maybe physically. You want to love what you see in the mirror, and just do it. Stick with it. Be consistent.
No, yeah, I think that's a great way to kind of wrap up the year. Really, is just be consistent, because that kind of shaped my year, and being consistent with whether it's fitness or whether it's whatever other kind of change I want to make in my life. If you just do it, day in and day out, you might not get the results you're expecting. You might not put on the weight or or lose the weight or whatever, but you're going to feel good about yourself because you stuck with it. You're going to build an actual habit, and you're eventually you will achieve that goal, and even more than that goal. So I think that's a great way to kind of end the year, really, is on that note of consistency. Just and look at from the long term, because you mentioned like what I want to look like at the end of 2022, or at the beginning of 2023. What do I want my life to look like? And I think kind of a little bit off point, but kind of on the same lines, is like, you don't know what your life will look like. Just because you set a goal of losing 20 pounds or 50 pounds or whatever this year, you might realize that, hey, I lost my 20 pounds, but I've actually got into jujitsu, and now I'm competing in jujitsu. I never saw my life turning in that direction, but just because I got involved and I stayed consistent, I now do this other thing, and I've met new people, and I have new, habits. Like, you never know what one step is going to lead kind of to the next. And I think that's a really cool part about just staying consistent.
Absolutely. You could find your next love in fitness, not in room, but in fitness. You could find something you love doing, your passion that maybe you didn't know about.
Yep.
So yeah.
Very true. But it's been cool getting to talk to you tonight. I really appreciate you coming on and sharing some time with us, telling us a little bit about you, what's going on in your world. And I definitely feel like I've picked some stuff up. I hope, the listeners have as well. And just before we head out, if you want to let people know where people can get in touch with you, and if they want to follow what's going on in your world on social media, that'd be cool.
Okay. Yeah. I'm on Instagram, and my name is Brelee_Dell, and that's BRELEE_DELL.